The unit number first in your syllabus for the solid mechanics subject is simple stresses and strains. I think this syllabus you can get from university website or from internet. And in the revised syllabus, in first unit there will not be any changes. Only strain energy part that is added, which is not shown here right now by me. Only that one part is one topic of strain energy that will be extra for your syllabus. Okay. Now, these are some books. In last lecture, we have already discussed those things. Now we'll study. We'll just quickly recap what is stress. Okay. So here, the stress is basically internal resistance by the material against deformation. What is this internal resistance means? Suppose this bar is there of length L, and if I apply load on the both the side, the P and P. Okay. Now, if I take the cut section at anywhere, and if I consider only any one of the part, so if I consider this left part here, so what I can see, this load P will be there, and at the cut section here, I have to show the load like this way, because to be that part in equilibrium, the whatever reaction will be there, that will be P. And how this reaction is coming P? Suppose I will show here your half part, what is the cut section. On this side P was there, and suppose this reaction, I don't know this reaction, if I mention that is R. Now what will happen if I apply summation of horizontal forces, sigma fx is equal to 0, according to this equilibrium equation. Suppose left hand side, left forces, if I consider positive, that is P, and right hand side, if I consider negative, it will become 0. From this, I will find this R is equal to P. That means whatever this reaction is there, that value of that reaction is P. That means the applied load. Okay. And this is applicable if the load is axial. That means the load is acting along the axis. Okay. And mathematically, this stress that is indicated by this sigma, that is equal to, now see here, by the definition, technical sound definition is internal resistance. So what is this internal resistance? This internal resistance, that is nothing but this reaction R, because the opposing reaction is what? R. Okay, and this reaction is nothing but internal resistance, and the calculated value of this internal resistance is nothing but what? P, that is applied load. Okay, and so that is the meaning of this internal resistance. And actually the stress is defined as internal resistance divided by area. Now here the internal resistance is R, and suppose cross sectional area A, but what is the value of R? That is P upon A. So, and directly you will see in the book or anywhere the formula of stress directly, that will be sigma is equal to load upon area. Okay, sigma will be directly load upon area. This sigma is equal to load upon area. But how this load came into picture? Through this. Okay, actually this P is nothing but R. Correct. That's why technical definition is internal resistance by the material against deformation. Means because of this load there will be some deformation delta, and it will, this material will resist for this deformation, right? That's why this sigma is the definition is called as internal resistance by the material against this deformation. Okay, and so you have to remember that the stress is equal to load upon area. Now again the unit is Newton per meter square, SI unit, and these are the conversions. 1 kilopascal is equal to 10 raised to 3, like way 10 raised to 9 for 1 GPa. Next, strain. Strain is deformation per unit length. Here the definition is deformation per unit length. Suppose this AB bar is there. If I apply load P here like this way, and if the length, original length is L, then after applying the load there will be some deformation. Suppose that deformation is delta, and as per definition the strain is equal to delta upon L, that is change in length divided by original length. This is also written like this way: change in length divided by original length. Okay. Change in length divided by original length. And this is change in length is delta and original length is L. And again the strain, it don't have any unit. By formula we can easily see that. Okay. Yesterday we have discussed this stress strain diagram also. There are certain linear regions. Certain regions are there. First region is linear region, then perfect plastic or yielding region, then strain hardening and necking. So what happens is that if we start loading member, suppose this is our specimen. If we start apply loading like this way, and suppose this is fixed, if we gradually increasing the load, what will happen? Slowly it will change in the dimension. Length will increase and diameter will reducing. So after certain point, this load and elongation, this relationship will be linear, that is up to point A, and this point A is called as proportional limit, because the load and elongation both are proportional linearly. After point, if we again increase the load from A to B, you will have bend, or it will not be straight line. Okay, so this B point is called as yield stress, because at this point B the yielding region will start. Yield means what? The deformation, permanent deformation. Okay, that is called as yielding, and this yielding process, it will start from B to C. Correct. If again increase the load, the low stresses will increasing, and one point will come. At that point the value of stress will be maximum, and that point is called as ultimate stress. And after that the diameter, it will start reducing, or the stress value start to reducing, and at certain point it will fail, it will break into two pieces, and this region is called as necking, and this point is called point E. This is called as fracture point or breaking point. So while calculating this stress strain diagram, we have the, by definition of stress, stress is basically what? P upon A. Okay. So this solid line, while calculating the stress value, this solid for this solid line, the area here it is constant. Okay, That's why the curve is like this way. Okay. Now suppose, but in practice, if we increase the load, the area will not remain same. If diameter reducing, that area also that should be reducing. If area is continuously reducing, that means stress values are increasing. Okay. So that curve is shown here by dotted line, where from this yielding region, yielding point, the area is reducing. That means stress value should continuously increasing. That means this dotted line is obtained while changing the area continuously. Correct. The solid line is obtained by keeping area as a constant. Now, here this dotted curve up to point C or up to certain portion of this point, there will not be any difference between solid and dotted line. But after certain point, you will see the difference between solid and dotted line. But that's why this dotted line, this curve is called as true curve, and this solid is called as engineering curve. Because in engineering, calculation, we use this solid curve. There is also one reason why we are using this engineering curve, because at every time it is not possible to measure the area, and again the change is, even if you are seeing here very much big change, the actual change will not be that much. That's why we use this engineering curve. Okay. Now this curve is for ductile material. Okay. Now the second curve is for brittle material, and for brittle material there is no specific yield point like in ductile material. So for brittle material, the stress strain curve will be like this way. Up to there will be only 2 points. One is proportional point and another is action point. Now here you see one of the stress strain curve for aluminum alloy. Aluminum alloy is actually behaves in a, it is actually ductile, but the stress strain curve, you will, if you see here, for aluminum alloy you can't, or the stress strain curve for aluminum alloy don't have specific yield point. If we do the tensile test for aluminum alloy material, you will see the curve like this, and we will get practically this curve exactly. When we conduct practically in the laboratory, you will get this curve. But to find the yield point for aluminum, we use offset method. What we can do here, for on the strain axis, take the value of 0.002 of strain value and draw a parallel line with this line, and wherever this parallel line cuts the stress strain curve, that point is nothing but your yield stress. So this will be sigma y, that means yield stress. Okay. And this method of calculating Young's modulus or yield stress is called as offset method. Okay. Next, now you have heard this term Hooke's law since 12th standard or 11th standard. You heard this term. What is Hooke's law? Basically, the Hooke's law is derived from this experimentation only, the stress strain curve. That this scientists find the relation of stress and strain up to certain point is, I think this point A, up to this, that was proportional. Correct. That's why, so from this observation, the Hooke's find out this relation. Okay, that means stress is directly proportional to strain. Correct, because that is linear. So this stress is directly proportional to strain. We can write like this way: is equal to suppose C is what? Proportionality constant, and here epsilon. We can write like this way. Now what I can do? I can write like this way: C is equal to stress upon strain. Correct. And this constant C, that is called as Young's modulus, and that is afterward it is indicated by capital E. Okay. So this is your Hooke's law, stress upon strain. Okay, and this relationship is called as Hooke's law, where sigma is stress and this epsilon is strain and E is Young's modulus. Again, the unit of Young's modulus. What will be the unit of Young's modulus? So we have E is equal to epsilon upon stress upon strain. For stress is Newton per meter square, and for E or epsilon there is no unit. No unit. Okay, that means the unit of Young's modulus is again Newton per meter square or mm square or whatever you can convert afterwards. Okay, now every material has its specific value of Hooke's law, Young's modulus. Okay, this Young's modulus is called as property, one of the property of the material, because property means what? That value for that specific material will not change. Okay, for aluminum alloy, the value of sigma, value of Young's modulus will be something different. For steel, it will be different. Okay, whether that material or any that material is in the any shape, but for specific material Young's modulus will be constant. That's why it is called as property of the material. So we'll see some of the values and for Young's modulus after this slide. Now another property of the material is Poisson's ratio. I think this also you have heard this term in your physics subject. Okay, suppose I have this material, a round shape material. If I apply load, what will happen? The length will increase and diameter will reduce. Suppose this dotted is original cross-sectional area. Then the diameter, if we increase the load, the diameter will reduce. So here there are two changes in the dimension of this bar. One is in this axial direction and another is in diametrical direction, is in this radial direction. Okay, so we can have here two strain values. One strain is along the length and another is along this diameter. So along the length, the value of strain is called as epsilon L. That means this is called as axial strain because this is along the axis, and other strain value is called as epsilon L, that is lateral strain, because this direction is lateral direction. Okay, this direction is lateral to the axial direction, that way this is called as lateral strain. And if you take the ratio of these two here, epsilon L to epsilon A, and this ratio is called as Poisson's ratio. Now in your physics subject you have heard that the value of this nu or Poisson's ratio is always positive. Okay, have you heard about negative, or have you came across the formula of Poisson's ratio along with this negative sign? Have you came across anywhere till now? No. Everywhere you have seen only the ratio sigma epsilon L upon epsilon A. But technically here it should be minus, because see why this negative epsilon value you have always positive, because see here epsilon L is reducing means diameter is decreasing. That means upper value is negative. Okay. And axial strain, that is increasing. Denominator is positive. If you technically, by the definition, these values, it will become negative. To make this positive, you should always write here this negative sign. So then it will become positive. Okay. So this is definition, technical definition. But there are some materials also. Those are having negative Poisson's ratio also. So I will keep that for your homework. Just search the material which are having negative Poisson's ratio and try to find why those materials are having negative Poisson's ratio. So if anybody is having answer for that, you can tell me in this session right now. Otherwise, you can search over the internet and see whether there are materials are present with negative Poisson's ratio, and if they are having negative value, then try to search why they are having negative value. Okay. Next, we'll see some values of Poisson's ratio. Theoretically, the limit for Poisson's ratio minimum is 0 and maximum is 0.5. We will also prove this when we derive the formulas for elasticity constants. Then for isotropic material, theoretical value is 1 by 1/4 to 1/3. But experimentation, these values are like this way. For isotropic material, it is 0.25 to 0.35. For concrete, 0.1 to 0.2. For cork, practically the cork material is having 0 value. Okay. And for rubber, we are having maximum value, because for rubber, the lateral strain and axial strain, depending on the lateral strain and axial strain, those values are depending. So for rubber, the diameter or lateral dimension, it will reduce by large factor. That means this quantity will be high, rubber material. So that's why this always for rubber like material, the value of Poisson's ratio will be maximum. And again, one more thing, try to find for cork material, why this value for cork material is 0 practically. These are two just interesting questions were there regarding Poisson's ratio. Try to find. You will find very interesting answers over the internet. Okay. So now, today we'll stop here and we'll continue with some other points in the next lecture. Now, if anybody is